100 high school walkouts scheduled for this moment across America. Realistically, that's hundreds and thousands of students saying enough is enough. We're a whole generation giving an early warning sign to politicians in office today. And we're saying enough is enough. Gun violence is no longer tolerated by us. In 1968, In 1968, Chicano students in just one LA high school pounded on their locker doors and walked out of class to demand their right for properly funded education untainted by racist teachers. Now that movement in just 1 week escalated to over 22,000 students, capturing the attention of national media, police, and of course, the lawmakers in charge of their education. One member of the LA Board of Education said that this is BC and AD. The schools will no longer be the same hereafter. And one teacher said that in 1968, it was the kids who kicked the doors open. In 2018, we're the kids kicking open a different set of doors, and this time is for our right and our teachers' right for safe education. 1 month ago, 17 lives were unfairly lost. And it's only been 1 month, and we've already assembled across the nation to take a stand. We do have a problem, but ultimately we also have the intellect, the leadership capability, and the courage, but also the right to demand a solution. We're stepping up not just for our generation, but for generations to come. I hope that these 17 minutes really do empower us and inspire us to be politically active in the future and to be unafraid of using our voice. Thank you. Yeah, sorry, I'm really nervous. This is the first time I've done something like this. So thank you all for coming. So another thing I'd like to point out is that this is a purely youth-led movement, but we are also supported by community leaders who have all gathered today. So just to introduce them, we have Reverend Jim Lehan, Carol DeMonte, Director of Ministries for Youth and Music, Reverend Joey Lee, Executive Presbyter of the San Jose Presbytery, Lauren Jacobs, founding member of the Safe Cities Coalition, a community alliance to prevent gun violence, Congregation Shir Hadash, board member of the Santa Clara County chapter of the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence, Aditi Shakarwar, Office of Assembly Member Evan Lowe, the 28th Assembly District, Stacy Shi, Director Office of Assembly Member Ash Culver, 27th Assembly District, Reverend Wilma T. Jacobson, St. Jude's Episcopal Church, Reverend Peggy Bryan, St. Andrew's Episcopal Church, Reverend Eric Swanson, West Hope Presbyterian Church, San Jose City Councilman Chappie Jones. So I understand that the shooting and just school shootings in general are definitely something that have hurt us a lot as students and our community. But we can see at least clearly like this has been able to unite us across all age groups and all different groups of people. So yeah.
Hi guys. A little nervous, so just bear with me. Thank you guys for coming. I know it's like scary, like, oh my gosh, is it gonna rain? But anyway, thank you guys. So first off, I would like to start off by paying my respect to the 17 students and teachers that were killed on February 14th at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Of the 14 students, 7 of them were freshmen, 2 were sophomores, one student was a junior, and 4 students were seniors. It isn't fair that these teenagers didn't get to experience things like prom and college and graduation, but it's our responsibility now to ensure that their lives and the lives of everyone who has died in a school shooting were not in vain. And it's time for once and for all to show the country that us students will have our voices heard, no matter how young or how inexperienced we may seem. Woo! Now, as much as I complain about Lynbrook, this campus, it's my home. It's where I learn, where I grow, where I laugh, but most importantly, where I feel safe. However, our home and hundreds of homes across the country are under attack. We are invaded by gun violence, mental health, bullying, and school security. These invaders have taken the lives of students and teachers for over a decade. Since Sandy Hook, there have been over 200 school shootings and no action was taken to stop them. There have been no legislations to even attempt to deter gun violence at school at a federal level in the 21st century. We have waited long enough for the adults to make a difference. But it's time for us students, us teenagers, to demand for change. Our lives and the lives of our peers are now our own responsibility. And by participating in events like this walkout, we're showing the world that we will not allow our safety to be debated over. Now, when I was watching Parkland victims and Parkland parents' interviews, one thing that I noticed that was common in every single one of these interviews is that you don't think it's going to happen to you until it happens. You don't think it's going to happen to you until it happens. Okay, I refuse to let Lynbrook and any other school become another statistic in an article or a history book. It's time to raise our voices and never stop until safety has been promised and justice for the dead has been served. Thank you.
I just walked out of my physics class, and the first thing I thought after our drill was that I would hate to be in the physics room if a school shooter ever decided to come in. It has glass windows, it's right in front of the main entrance. We'd be the first one. I thought to myself, in the case that were to happen, I would want to be in my 4th period drama class. Even though, in that flawed logic of mine, that only means another group of kids would be the first. On the Tuesday before Parkland, that's where I was for our drill. We talked strategy the day before, and we were as prepared as we could be. But as I saw my friends building the barricades, I felt a little numb all over. We proceeded to enter into the somewhat hidden closet in the back, and the numbness faded, and the casual conversations and light giggles ensued. It's a drill, we knew we'd be okay. But when we shut the lights off, that silence filled the room, and the only comfort we had was in each other's presence. It's a drill, yet I didn't feel okay. On Wednesday, Parkland happened, and I wasn't sure what to think. A part of me almost didn't care. Only 16, and already I was desensitized to the lost lives of others. When Columbine happens before you were even born, and Sandy Hook is national news at 11, and 200 school shootings have grown up with you since then, the headline "School Shooting In" becomes the embodiment of old, current, and future news. But the students of Parkland make sure we didn't forget them. They wanted action because never again doesn't happen with prayers, condolences, and thoughts. And when condolences are reusable an average of 5 times a month, human lives become expendable. I so desperately want this narrative to stop, for students who had to be victims, for teachers who had to be martyrs, for families who had to live with one less spot on their dinner table. So where is the gun control? Because I'm scared, and there's too many people I love in this school, and too many people who are loved, and not a single person is expendable. Thank you.
First of all, I have to say a big thank you to Amber, the entire Intersections team, and everybody who has come out here today to stand up for this cause. Let's rewind to 11:05 a.m., February 13, 2018, right back here to Lynbrook High School. That was the time we practiced our run, hide, defend drill. The drill, what seemed like a perfect time to escape from class, chat with friends, and go on our phones, became the hearkening, devastating reality of the Stoneman Douglas students the exact same time the next day. I remember when I was a student at Challenger, and in the 3rd grade, our school practiced the exact same drill. However, students were not informed that this was a drill, and so understandably, I genuinely thought my life was going to end that day. My heart was pounding out of my chest and out of control. I have never been that scared in my entire life, and I cannot bear to imagine what the students at Parkland shooting had to go through that day. It's cheesy and it's cliche and it's been said 1,000 times, but our generation is the future. And we, high schoolers, as we come of age to vote and protest, I beg you all to stay informed
and use your power to the best of your abilities. Do not take a single election, local or national, for granted. Do not take a single heartbreaking event as a one-time deal. Use your words and your voice to enforce the change you believe ought to be in our twisted world. I've watched countless videos on the Parkland shooting and shed far too many tears, hearing the victims' pleas to President Trump and their senators and legislators and interviewers and more. Let us show that we not only stand with the fallen angels from the shooting and their student body as a whole, but that we will not take no for an answer. Gun legislation and prohibition is statistically proven to have a profound, monumental change on the number of gun-related tragedies and occurrences. Let's start by being kind to one another and know that together we can make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Councilmember Chavy Jones, and I want to start out by saying that my generation owes you an apology. We have failed you. We have failed your generation. It's the responsibility of elected officials like myself, our teachers, our parents, and other adults to keep you safe. You do not feel safe at your school, at the mall, at the movies, or any place that you go. You do not feel safe, and that's how we failed you. When Columbine happened, I said, that's it. That's enough. Things are going to change. And then West Virginia happened. 35 students were killed. And I said, that's enough. Things are going to change. Orlando happened. All those young people were killed. And I said, now finally, that's enough. But the one event that happened that I thought was the turning point was Sandy Hook, when 20 babies were murdered. And I said, now this is it. Things are going to change. Enough is enough. And that didn't even make the difference. What happened in Florida, in Parkland, Florida, was another turning point that I said, okay, things are going to be different. And then something happened. And the young people rose up and said, we want to have our voices heard. We want to make a difference. We want to make a change. And I'm really inspired and motivated by you coming out today and having your voices heard. Because if you look at the civil rights movement, young people drove that. If you look at the anti-war movement in Vietnam, young people your age drove that and made a difference. But I can tell you right now that there are elected officials that are saying to themselves, okay, the young people are coming out, they're having these rallies, they're having their voices heard, but then they're going to get distracted. You're going to go on to other things. You're going to go, think about college and be distracted. But I can see and tell and feel by the energy that I see today that you're not going to get distracted. You're not going to let up. You're going to continue to have your voices heard. And that's such an inspiration to us adults. Again, I feel like we failed you. My generation has failed you. But I'm inspired that your generation is going to be the generation that's going to say, we're not going to take this anymore. Enough is enough. We want to see a change. So let's make that change happen. Thank you.
Again, I'd like to ask those who are holding candles to come to the side, please. Yeah. And I like to. Sorry. You were jumping. More. Okay. There we go. I'd like to thank Gina, who's helped us through all this. It's nice to see a parent who's supporting. I'm doing it again, aren't I? No? Right. So, yeah. All right. Who wants the mic now? I'm just going to awkwardly hand it off now. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning, students. I'm here today on behalf of Assemblymember Lowe
and Assemblymember Osh-Kalra.
And we are here to say that it's so remarkable to see students in Lynbrook and students across the country organizing in this way. Today, students across the nation are participating in the National School Walkout to declare that enough is enough, and the time to talk about senseless gun violence is now. And to receive this kind of turnout, especially in an area that's so academic and so focused on studies, is truly special. And I'm proud to say that Assemblymember Lowe has an F grade from the NRA, and we're working to pass 2 firearm safety bills this year. So we are listening, and we are listening to your generation. And we encourage you to continue to organize and attend walkouts, marches, and protests. And just as importantly, we encourage you all to vote as soon as you all turn 18. Because voting is the best way to hold your elected officials accountable, not just the president, but your members of Congress, state representatives, and even your own local school board members. And as students, you are your own best advocates to demand that schools be a place of learning and safety, not one of violence and fear. And when young people speak up, the world listens. And your generation's courage in the face of adversity strengthens our democracy and inspires us all.
So, my name is Stacey Shi. I've been working for Assemblymember Kalra for nearly 10 years. So 8 years on San Jose City Council, and then now coming 2 years in a state assembly. During those almost 10 years, he's, back in 2016, he introduced one of the first of its kind safe storage initiative, or ordinance for gun safety back in San Jose, which was later approved by City Council, spearheaded by Councilmember Chappie Jones as well. And then at State Assembly, he's currently working on co-authoring a bill to increase the age for firearm purchases to 21. You'd be surprised that every time we try to introduce legislation or policy for gun safety or gun control, what we get from the community, especially from more of the right-wing conservative Republicans, they always say, here's another politician doing a feel-good policy to boost their ratings. And every time I hear that, I think to myself, well, what does it mean, feel-good policy? To me, feeling good, isn't that feeling safe? So, what feels good is when students could go to school without being scared to be the next victim of gun violence, or families going to the mall, or the grocery store, or the park, or the library, knowing that their kids would be safe and not the next victim of gun violence. So if a feel-good policy means feeling safe, then by all means, let's push our legislators to introduce more feel-good policy. So next time someone tells you that the politician is introducing gun legislation because it's feel-good policy to boost their ratings, you tell them what feels good. Feeling safe feels good, and enough is enough. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right, to close you guys out. Today, we remember our brothers and sisters who on this planet of ours died by the hand of their own kind, who died for no purpose other than another's selfishness, who died for no real purpose other than anger, not progress. They were robbed of opportunities to which all of us here today now have access. The cycle can end here. It could have ended long ago, but we can end it here. Lay down your selfishness, and no other forms of selfishness will arise to harm others. Simply think, live your own life, and others will follow suit, and take action where necessary. Soon I will be bringing a group of leaders from our school, club leaders and members of ASB, to meet with our congressman, Rokana, to present the will of the student body to him. This is where action begins, but certainly not where it ends. Will is only will. If not properly transformed into action, the world will only persist in stagnation. The same problems will be faced day after day until they are finally accepted into society. This has gone unchecked and unrecognized for far too long, leading us to the point we are now. Observe, think, and act. This is the core of humanity. Logic. We mourn for their deaths, for they were illogical. And illogic is not reconcilable to the human mind, which is why it is so difficult to comprehend the meaning behind the deaths of our brothers and sisters, for there seem to be none whatsoever. Let's give this loss some meaning and end the cycle of selfishness in our own lives, and then take action to affect the lives of others. Change is on the horizon, but we must first, finally, rise to the occasion. Thank you.
The way that the lighting will work is after each let it shine, the next person in line will like wait, Chen, you can So this is a song that I'm sure a lot of you may recognize. The lyrics we posted on our Facebook, so if you have it on your phone, you can feel free to pull it up. If you don't, it's quite easy to pick up, so feel free to join as you start recognizing it. Okay. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Even in the darkness, I'm gonna let it shine. Even in the darkness, I'm gonna let it shine. Even in the darkness, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. For the ones no longer with us, we're gonna let it shine. For the ones no longer with us, we're gonna let it shine. For the ones no longer with us, we're gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. For our teachers and our mentors, we're gonna let it shine. For our teachers and our mentors, we're gonna let it shine. For our teachers and our mentors, we're gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere we go, we're gonna let it shine. Everywhere we go, we're gonna let it shine. Everywhere we go, we're gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Thank you guys for all coming out today. So before we have our 17 seconds of silence to honor the 17, we just want to let you know that if you do want to write down any thoughts or grieve, we have memorials put up here made by a lot of people. Sorry, I don't know who exactly made the memorials, but yeah, they were made, and put your flowers or anything you have, anything works. And we also have a pledge table for you to write your name and email, and we'll send you information on how to pre-register to vote. So yeah, you can do that during brunch and lunch, and it'll be open, or you can stay back if you want to. That's cool too. Yeah, so now we'll have our 17 seconds of silence. Okay, thank you so much for coming out, and I hope this was worthwhile.